Hello everyone, it's Quick Flash, and today I've decided to just make a quick video going over the latest emuflight version 0.2.0, this release candidate 1, and kind of just going over what's new and some easy little tricks that will get you to have success when flashing your flight controllers to this new version. Now, so what you're going to want to do is open up the emuflight configurator, click update firmware, but actually before you update, regardless of if you're on Betaflight or emuflight or whatever you're using, you're going to want to come down to the CLI and you're going to want to type in diff all. Now this should save everything that's different from the defaults. So if you go back to whatever version you used to be on, everything you have will be saved. So what I usually do is I type that, and then I go into Notepad, I open that up, and I paste all of that text right into there. Then I go in here, update firmware, click on that, and I've got a Omnibus F4SD. You always want to do full chip erase. We might just remove the option to not do that. In the future, we want to do that. Load my firmware. And now I can flash that. Now, if you don't do full chip erase, please be aware that you might run into some issues. I've heard of a few people having issues with that where the CLI will hang and you can't access the CLI and just other things aren't working. That's no fun. And something nice about, converting from version 1 to version 2 is if you do that, if you make a diff before, you can save that diff and it saves you the work of figuring out your motor mapping and your receiver and all of that other stuff. Alright, there we go, just flashed. Let me connect. So now I want to go into the CLI. I want to copy all of this right there, copy that, and paste it. There we go. So now it's all set up. As you can see, my PIDs are tuned the way I have it. So yeah, let's just go through a few of the new things here in emuflight. We've got preset tunes. Now, for those of you that haven't noticed yet, there's this right here, which is preset. With this, it allows you to select any tune here, and it'll automatically do that for you. And you can try some tunes that other people have used and see what works best for you. Something that's nice about this is it only messes with your PID settings as well as your filter settings. And something that's nice is you don't have to update your configurator to get newer versions of the presets. All you simply have to do is close your GUI, open it again, and it'll automatically grab the newest presets for you. This preset needs to be fixed, but so there's that. And if you want to go back to what you used to have, don't save, just leave that tab and it'll go back to whatever your tune was. And then if you want to go back to the default tune, boom, we've got the defaults. And it sets your quad up just like you had just flashed it, at least as far as your PIDs and filters go. So, what about some of these other features? The IMU filter. So, inside of the filter tab, as some of you may have heard that may have watched UAV Tech's video or just heard from your friends or whatever, that the IMU filter for non-helioflight controllers was not fully working in version 1. We've since completely fixed that, and now all of these values here, your Q and W, will have an effect and should work pretty much identical to the way it works on the HelioFlight controllers as far as Q and W goes. The whole filter is not exactly the same yet as it is on the HelioFlight controllers, but it's a lot closer. So you've got that. That's a big update. If you fly a HelioFlight controller, there's a new IMUF version. In here, there's NFE Eraser mode. Now, that's a really fun mode. To turn it on, all you go is turn on the switch here. What NFE Eraser mode does is it takes your it's a mode kind of like angle mode, but it's angle mode, but only on your roll axis. So a big advantage of that is, if you're whoop racing or doing other stuff like that, you don't have to constantly be pushing your pitch stick just to keep moving forward, because now your pitch is acro, only your roll's angle. That's really fun, something that I would definitely recommend you try if you're flying a whoop or something similar. I prefer it a lot more than regular angle mode. Other thing we've got is cinematic yaw. Cinematic yaw is found here under configuration. And what cinematic yaw does is it takes your FPV camera angle, and for those of you who don't know what this FPV camera angle does, is this code mixes roll and yaw so that essentially if you had, say, a camera that was tilted 30 degrees and you set this to 30, whenever you gave a yaw input in your FPV feed, you would see it as only a yaw. And, you wouldn't see any rolling in your camera. So with cinematic yaw, as you pitch forward more, when you're either in angle or horizon mode, this doesn't work in acro mode, but if you're in angle or horizon mode, and you've got your FPV camera angle turned on, you've got cinematic yaw turned on, and you've got this mode called FPV angle mix turned on. If all of those are on, then as you pitch forward until you reach this FPV camera degrees, whatever you've set it to, until you reach that point, whenever you give it a yaw input, it will mix your roll and yaw so that in your FPV feed it always looks like just a yaw without any roll input. That feature is similar to what Silverware does with their software, and it's a pretty cool feature. Some people like it, some people don't. Just give that a try if you're curious about it. So there's that. A lot of whoop guys seem to enjoy that. We've completely changed feathered PIDs. So feathered PIDs now, as you can see, it's this value from 0 to 100. Basically, if you have feathered PID set to 100, you have your D term is a measurement-based D term. If you don't know what that is, just go ahead and look it up. You'll find some videos about it. And then running feathered PIDs at 0 is a error-based D term. And anything in between is just a mixture of the two. So if you had 80 for your feathered PIDs value, that would be 80% measurement, 20% error to calculate your D term. So there's that. Basically, if you want to fly around and mess with it, closer to 100 is going to give you a bit smoother of a flight, but it's going to feel a little bit less responsive, and then a value of 0 is going to be more responsive, but it's also going to be a bit less smooth. So that's just something to play with. As you saw, I'm running a value of 80, and I do, in fact, enjoy that. We added motor output limit. That comes from Betaflight. You can look that up if you're curious as to what that does. Right here, if you're flying a HelioFlight controller, you can now use the dynamic notch filter. Before, this dynamic notch filter for helioflight controllers did absolutely nothing, but now if you turn it on, you actually will be using the dynamic notch. Support for JESC, I'll go over that more, but now if you want to update your BLHES speed controllers to JESC, you don't have to download Betaflight in order to do that. So that's kind of nice. Not all speed controllers are compatible with JESC. So far, everyone that said it's not working, that has been the case, is they just had an incompatible incompatible speed controller with JSC. Right here, you can now set what the low pass filter is over your voltage and current. That's a feature currently in Betaflight, so if you'd like more explanation on that, just look that up. Basically, using this, you can just get your battery voltage to update quicker or slower, depending on how you like it. If you want it to fly exactly like it did back in version 1, you'll just set the low pass. You'll just have to go into the CLI, and it is right here, VBAT LPF period. Just type in set VBAT LPF period equals 10. And it'll be just like it was in version 1. If you want your voltage to update quicker, increase that number and you'll get a more raw looking voltage, whereas currently it's more of a filtered voltage. I prefer it a little more filtered, but that's really up to you. We fixed the yaw PID sum limit, which basically, if you go in here, you may, if anyone's ever experienced a yaw to the moon after hitting something, this piece of code is probably what's going to fix that. If you look here, you've got the PID sum. By default, your normal PID sum is set to 1,000, and for your yaw, it's set to 400. Before, in the code, you did have the ability to change this, but it didn't do anything. It was exactly the same as your PID sum limit. But now you can change it for yaw, and hopefully this value is going to help with some of those yaw to the moon spins that I have heard like one report of. To that, we've fixed the telemetry PID loop jitter bug, at least partially. In case none of you knew, if you go into Configurator and you turn telemetry on, it still might do it a little bit, but not nearly as bad as it used to. Yeah, you can see here that the cycle time is pretty constant. It's not jumping around. Before, there was a bug where it would jump around a lot, and it was just a pain. But yeah, we've essentially fixed that. We got 2 new filters. If you come here to PID tuning, you've got your D-term dynamic filter and your gyrodynamic filter. These are dynamic filters, and whatever value you set here, that'll be their minimum value that they can reach. But these filters are based on your quad's error. I'll go over this more in depth in another video, but yeah, basically, you can mess around with these if you'd like. If you've got no idea what they really do and don't want to mess with it, just don't. You can still get a great flying quad without it. If you'd like to maybe push the performance a little bit more, you can try to use this. I wouldn't generally recommend this setup. On a whoop, I can get away with filtering like this. In general, though, I would still have a D-term low pass and maybe just use this filter to replace my D-term low pass 2. And then probably just do dual gyrodynamic and gyro low pass and just run my gyro low pass a little higher than I normally would. But something to play with. IMU boost. So all of you that have been using IMU boost, we've now split that up so you have it on your yaw axis. At least for me, I know some people aren't this way, but I prefer to have a bigger IMU boost on my yaw. It just makes my yaw feel that much better. And yes, now you've got IMU boost for roll and pitch, and then you've got it split for your yaw axis. Then the last thing that's brand new is this SPA. SPA stands for stick position attenuation. It's pretty much like TPA, which is throttle position attenuation, except this is based on your stick. So as you move your stick further from center, it will either increase or decrease your PIDs. A value of 100 keeps your PIDs the same, and then a value above 100 will boost your PIDs. As you move your stick, a value below it will decrease it. And at least for myself, something that I've seen, you might see some weird yaw settings for me on my little tiny whip, because I've got a P of 75 and an I of 115. By setting my SPA yaw I term at 28, that means when I move my stick all the way to the end, my I term decreases until it's 28% of what it normally is. So that would be 28% of 115 when I'm giving a full yaw movement. Yeah, and so doing that, I can get rid of kind of that I-term wind-up effect that you might run into. And then there's your SPA yaw P, so this is for pitch and roll, this is for yaw. And so just some of these settings, messing with it on yaw especially, I've been able to lock things in. But yeah, this is something to play with. Some settings that I might generally see people using would be maybe a bit of boost for your P and D as you increase your stick, and then possibly just a bit of a decrease on your I. And then by doing that, you can probably just increase your I term a little bit more than you would normally use and not really run into any issues. This is more advanced stuff, so if any of the stuff that I've explained to you doesn't make much sense, don't worry about it. If emuflight's flying great, then, you don't have to play with these settings. These are just there if you want to, and to be fair, more of this is there for our testers and, the guys that are coming up with some of these presets. Because as you can see, you can choose any of these presets here, and right away, it'll affect all of these settings. And so you don't have to worry too much about it. Of course, you'll want to fine-tune any of these settings that you pick, but for the most part, these should be able to give you a good bass tune that you can just tweak just a little bit to get flying just how you want it. Anyways, I hope that some of these tips may have helped you in upgrading to version 2. Yeah, have a great day, and thanks for flying emuflight.